This is a little tube radio, AM radio, that I picked up at a flea market probably about a year ago. I've been tripping over it here in the workshop for about a year. Would you say, Leroy?
Yes.
It's been on the floor here for about a year. Super heterodyne radio. It has 12 BE6, 12 BA6, 12 AV6, into 50C5, and the rectifier is a 35W4. Oh, made in Japan. Doesn't say what brand it is anywhere. So I have no idea. It's a model 50Q. 50Q? Oh, and then that's weird. The model, the name is scratched out. Why would they do that, I wonder? Made in Japan. The power cord is broken off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this back off and then use a cheater cord to get it to come on and see what happens. Okay, I got a cheater cord, just a cord, power cord wired up into it, plugged in, power's on. Let me turn it on. Okay. Nothing. Oh, there we go. That one's lit up. Yeah, the filaments are lighting up on the tubes. Yeah, they're all lit up.
Okay.
But there's nothing. Nothing. Yeah, the volume's all the way up. No stations, it's completely quiet. There's the speaker wire. Oh, look at that. Speaker wire is not connected. Oh, there we go. So, pretty bad filter hum, I think. So let me connect this speaker wire and get this out of the case, and we'll just jump a capacitor across it's probably that right there, that filter capacitor back there. We'll jump a capacitor across that and see what happens. Okay, I got that wire soldered back on there. So let's see what happens now. It's gonna be the same, I'm sure, but oops. Okay, I'm having trouble getting this knob off. I thought maybe there's a screw underneath this shiny thing, so I pretty much destroyed that getting off there, and turns out there's no screw, so I'm trying to pry this off without destroying it too badly. So let me continue with that. I've got this guitar knob puller that I use to get it off. You know, it's still broken. It was like it was glued on there. So I'll figure out something on that to put it back together. I don't really care that much about this. It was $4 at a flea market, so I'm just trying to see if I can get it to work. So it looks like it's supposed to be 240 microfarad capacitors coming in from the line. Going to the rectifier, and then 240s, 150 volt, and the other side's hooked to the speaker and to the grids of the tubes. Right? So if I just find a couple of 40s, I'll just find what I've got and stick them on there and see what happens. So on these capacitors, there's a 1K across both of them, and then the other side goes to chassis ground. And so over here, that big blue thing is the 1K resistor. So it's going from here from here to there, which is, that's the two leads of the positive leads of the capacitor, and so this would be the chassis ground. These are the two positive leads. There's the 1K, where the 1K attaches right there, and then that would be chassis ground, goes over here to ground, or the chassis. I guess it's not really ground necessarily. So I'm just going to jump this for now. I'm just going to tack a capacitor on there, see what happens. So I just got a couple of 47s here. I mean, it's overrated. One's a 400, one's a 450. So I'm just gonna jump them across, see what happens. Make sure you get the negatives on the chassis ground. Yes, there you go. I mean, it's dead quiet with both of them on there. So I guess I shouldn't touch my finger to that lead. Yeah, so there you go. That capacitor shot, that filter capacitor. So I think I'm gonna try to find. I think I'll try to find some. These are my good guitar amplifier capacitors. So I think I'm gonna try to find something that'll something cheaper that I can just tack on there. And I wish I could. Let me use a clip lead on these, and that way I can actually tune it. I've just got these capacitors clipped into the circuit at this point, so let's turn this up.
Some highlights due in the Oakland, New York Yankees game where both managers, Bob Melvin, and they're calling him out. So the Royals.
It might be the camera.
A's game.
It actually seems to work pretty good. I'm down in the basement in an area where there's very few AM stations.
Was because Donald Trump was willing to use force where necessary.
So, I mean, that was it. But that's about what I usually get down here in the basement without, any more of an antenna.
Skilled and friendly stylists don't just make your hair look great, they make you feel. Download our app today. Great clips. It's gonna be great. Baseball fans, don't strike out with ATM fees. Equity-based debit
I
cards
think
have
I'll try to
zero
find
ATM fees worldwide. Get the
a couple of
hassle-free cash you need for
capacitors,
those
you know, just a
peanuts
little
and
bit
Cracker Jacks, so you can get back to cheering on
cheaper
your boys in
capacitors.
blue.
Those are
You
pretty
won't
good
miss that
guitar
grand slam
amplifier
everyone will be talking
capacitors.
about tomorrow. Speaking of great plays, capture your baseball.
So anyway, it works pretty good. One thing I would be concerned about is that capacitor right there. I mean, look at all the wax that's melted off that thing. So it's been pretty hot. So I may have to check that one out and maybe replace that too. I don't know. I really don't want to screw around with this thing that much. Okay, I don't have any lower voltage capacitors in my stash at this point, so I think I'm just gonna cut it off here. I mean, just basically just to prove how easy it is to get one of these things, one of these old radios going. Just, you know, look for any obvious wires loose or anything like that, or shorts, and then you can tack in. Usually the best thing to do would be to remove the old capacitor and not just jump on there like I did. But that's really, about 90% of the time you can get these old radios going by just replacing the filter capacitor, which is that right there. What's on the schematic is those two capacitors right there. So anyway, that's it. It's interesting, I just noticed these are all Toshiba tubes. Toshiba. They're all Toshiba tubes. I wonder if there's a day code on these things. I'm not really usually very good at reading the date codes, but that'd be interesting. I'd say this is probably from the 60s or maybe 70s. Okay, so I just went ahead and
I keep thinking about
replaced this capacitor with those. You can see how it was bulging. It was completely shot. So I mean, it works now.
as for helping out with disabled veterans, and I mean these guys and gals. Just remember, Ricky had to made him headbutt the died last week. Excellent show. He spoke to the mother of.
We don't have very many stations here, and I'm down in the basement, so there's really nothing. One or two, there we go.
Well, Vietnam was almost because we just weren't doing it right.
Usually only get about 3 stations down here.
One of the Marines that died yesterday.
So, you know, it's working.
I'm on the radio.
No.
I could clean the tube sockets.
20 years and 6 months old. Getting
Clean that tube socket. Okay, there seems to be some kind of a issue here. I'm just barely moving that. Some of these, like that trace right there, you can see it's lifted. Right there, you can see it's lifted, so I globbed some solder on there, but that's really just the I'm gonna go over that. I'm gonna hit that with some more solder, all the connections of that, and see if that helps. I notice you can hold it to this side. I'm pulling to the left there, and then when I let it back, it goes away. So I'll have to check the traces there. Hold on. Okay, this still has an issue with this. If I just barely move that, you can just barely hear it clicking. I don't know if you can hear that or not. The way this is constructed, this tuning capacitor is kind of like it's a brace over to that IF can, and it's just like over time, it just the stress from turning this capacitor is, I think it just loosens something up inside that IF can. I really do not want to take that off of there. Well, I'm trying to take this IF can out of here, but I don't know if you can see that I just destroyed that trace. I may make this worse by messing around with it. I think I may just, I don't know, I'm thinking about just leaving this alone. It doesn't have the problem unless you actually physically move the IF can around. So I think I'm going to just leave it, because I am going to destroy these traces by trying to take that IF can out of there. Oh, okay. I've just flowed a lot more solder around all the connections on this IF can, and I don't know. It seemed like it was worse, but now it's better. What is going on with this thing?
Oh.
Okay, this is a case of where I should have just left it alone, because there's where that IF can is. After the IF can, I got signal. And then before the IF can, let me make sure I got something on my. I got nothing. I got nothing before the IF can. After the IF can, so I screwed up something when I heated those traces up there. So that's a case where I should have just left it alone, probably. Right, Leroy? Mm-hmm. Well, I got this IF can out of here, and it's got 19.5 ohms on one side, and about 19.5 ohms on the other side. So it's got continuity. I wonder if those capacitors right there have bit the dust. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it says 100 picofarad on that capacitor right there, and the same to the side. The other side says 100 picofarad. That's pretty unusual. Usually they don't say. But everything's got continuity, so I think these legs were chopped off like that. So I'm just wondering if maybe this has either been out of here before and it just wasn't making good contact with one of those legs. That's got to be what it is. So I'm just gonna work on these legs a little bit and see if I can get them to have better contact. Let's see if that'll do anything. Well, it's not pretty, but I just took some of these terminal ends and crimped them on the other feet, and then cut. Actually, I cut them down first with tin snips, so they'll extend down. These aren't going to be long enough to go into the board now, but I'll have to figure something out on that. But anyway, it's kind of a hillbilly way of doing it. Well, there it is. And it's not pretty. But I think all the connections are there. For the legs of the shield, I just took some solder wick, kind of looped it around up in there, so it should give it some support. It's there. So should we see if it works, Leroy? What are the odds?
It will.
Think it'll work?
Yes, I do. I sure do.
See if we see any smoke.
It won't. It won't not.
Well, seems kind of weird though. It's not picking your stations up. What is it doing now? I mean, it's like you can hear the stations.
So windy outside.
Yeah, it sounds like it's doing something.
WTO. Listen on air, online, or on any
It's like the
device.
antenna's messed up now.
Hi there, Ed. Good evening, and welcome to the Jimbo Hatter Show with Geo.
Why is it?
Not getting a good feel for Buchner because both of the first two pitches.
It seems sensitive. It's kind of like
Dozier holding him on.
squealing in between stations, but
And
it's
Chris
working.
goes that way.
And it's working better than it ever has.
Usually the case when you have a case that feels pretty important.
I mean, you hear a lot of stations in there. The problem with this thing is, see how it sort of torques when you turn this. It's sort of torquing the way that's mounted. It's sort of torquing the IF can. That's what caused that problem in the first place.
FDIC.
For the ones where safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who want to speak to, what
Well, it's working.
Not, but it would be nice.
It is working, but in between stations, it's like oscillations.
Secondary lead. Well,
I mean, you can tell it's picking up stations, and we really only have 3 stations here, and I am in a basement, so maybe that's it. I don't know, but it just seems like it should not be doing that. Motorboating's in between stations, you know, Leroy. It is picking up. It is picking up the 3 main stations, though. So I'm gonna have to research that squealing. That right there. That didn't seem like it should be doing that. It seems like that's oscillating. And maybe just I need to tune the IF can a little bit. Do an alignment. What do you think about that? Okay. Well, I'm gonna quit for now. Okay, the squealing in between the channels, I thought it was going to be because of this IF can, the way it's kind of off the board, you know, it's changed, but it didn't seem like it made that much difference when I tweaked the adjustment there. And the one that made the difference was this one right, that coil right there. So that coil right there is the one that made the difference. That one. And I'm pretty sure it's this. I'm pretty sure it's that coil on the schematic. You know. Okay, I was sitting here trying to figure out what was wrong with this thing. It's humming like crazy. And then I thought, oh, my light's on, so watch out, because sometimes a fluorescent light can cause a lot of noise like that. So anyway, this thing, I think it's about as good as it's going to get. We're down in the basement. It doesn't have an antenna on it, really.
Lieutenant. He's got a tremendous...
Afghanistan is a tribally diverse... Because
there's not that many stations around here. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah. So, okay, I think I'm going to call it quits on this thing.
The cultural differences.
So there it is. That's a $4 garage sale radio. I had to replace just about every capacitor in it. They were all bad. I have no idea what brand it is. Almost all Toshiba, actually all Toshiba tubes. So is it some kind of a Toshiba? Who knows? But anyway, it's a $4 no-name radio.